Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of season 1 of the In the Green Room podcast. If you're joining for the first time, my name is Wayne Ingram. I'm a professional actor, and man, have I got a good episode for you this week. My goodness. I invited my good friend and fellow actor Michael Peluso onto the podcast, and my God, I've been podcasting now for probably about 8 years, certainly coming up to 10, and I've interviewed quite a few people. This is possibly the most honest, candid, dare I say, vulnerable interview that I have ever conducted. I'm so excited for anybody listening to this podcast to listen to this episode. It is so honest and frank about the trials and tribulations of the industry, the struggles. My God, does Michael talk about the struggles, and openly as well. I was actually apprehensive getting Michael on, not because I was worried about necessarily the nature of what he had to say, so much as because I knew that he had a lot to say, and I was a bit anxious because I didn't know how honest he wanted to be, and he was so humble, and I'm just honest. I can't really oversell this, so it's just a great episode. I really hope you enjoy it. I don't really want to say much more. It's quite a long episode, so I apologise. But it's worth every minute, honestly. I had such a blast recording this one, and as did Michael. I just really hope you love it. I really do. So without further ado, this is my sit-down interview with actor Michael Peluso. Which is good, because...
Shoot the shit, man. I love that. I love that expression.
So do I. It's not very often you get to...
use it.
So... I guess my opening gambit is... would you say that the acting industry, career, life, everything is anything like you expected it way back when, before kind of graduation from drama school, that kind of naive time where, I mean, I don't know how much naivety you did have, I suppose.
Quite a bit.
Okay.
I'd say naivety is one of my best qualities.
Okay. Well, and I think that is a good quality.
Yeah, it can be.
I actually think, really, I wish I was more naive now. Mm-hmm.
Ignorance is bliss, as they say.
Absolutely, and kind of that position where it's like, well, I'm just going to try it just because I can, rather than being like, well, that's not the way the industry works. But yeah, so would you say it was anything like you expected? Was it a shock?
I think it's a difficult one because, the world around us, and I'm sure I'm probably sounding like many generations before me, but the world around us has changed exponentially and so quickly, and that has a direct effect on industry, and has a direct effect on the arts, because the arts are a reflection of the times. Yeah. And whether you're repeating the past or thinking about the future, or you're actually looking at what's around you, and you're going to be affected by that. I never went to drama school. I graduated in 2008. I started in 2005.
That's when I started my training.
Yeah. So there was no iPhones. iPhones came out the year I graduated.
Fucking hell.
It's crazy.
How it's
so there was no Instagram.
Yeah.
There was no social media. You didn't have to. We didn't go to drama school to learn how to self-promote. And my mother, who was an actress, which I'm sure we'll get to in a bit, very, very successful. What a great tool to be able to, ask her questions and shoot the shit with her.
Yeah.
And ask her how I should go about it. And she's coming from, again, many generations before. But in terms of how you find work, hadn't changed that much.
Okay.
You get an agent. You do your showcase. You write emails or letters,
Yeah.
and contact people via correspondence like that. You don't have a website and have an Instagram page, and have this video show reel that you send out. People weren't even using show reels as much when I first started in 2005. Yeah. It really, really changed a lot.
It's interesting, and I say it's not so valid anymore with the younger actors. Although, actually, no, that's bollocks. Actually, it is still valid that I say this, and I said it to some students recently. It still baffles me how much trained actors are not aware of the power of the show reel.
Exactly.
And I think that comes from the fact that the previous generation of actors, the non-millennial actors, shall we say, the way that you got an agent was you invited them to the theatre.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody got time for that shit anymore.
Yeah.
The first thing I will say that an actor should do after getting their headshot sorted is get your fucking show reel.
Yeah.
But it still surprises me how much young actors, graduating actors, just aren't prepared.
Well, and I think some drama schools are quicker than others, or touch onto something that they realise that they found something that they initially weren't looking to do when it comes to teaching students. To answer your question, it's not what I expected at all. It's not turned out to be what I expected at all. And it's funny you mention millennials, because I don't consider myself a millennial, but I'm certainly in that zone. I think we're in that cusp. I don't think I'm sort of 2000s, mid 2000s millennial. Yeah. But it was already happening. Yeah. And we had there was that thing previously where you find a trade. Yeah. And then from off that trade, you can then experiment with what you want to do artistically. Yeah. But I grew up, with the pop idol and the X Factor beginning, and reality television was my era. And it was that thing of everyone wants to be famous, and all you have to do is, sing and dance for a couple of weeks, and then you'll be famous. So it doesn't work that way. Some of you are going to be in it for a very, very long time. And are you prepared to live that lifestyle?
And it's the thing that I always kind of worry. I don't know if worry is the right word, but I think about a lot is... And I'm going to pose a question to you. Do you think that celebrity culture has made our job harder?
I don't think it has or hasn't. I think in some ways it's opened up more work and opportunities for people.
In the sense, not necessarily about the work that's available, but more supply and demand of talent.
Yes, I think so. I think that there's we're not as patient as a society anymore. Yeah. And I think it's not allowed people to invest enough time into discovering talent in a way that is organic. It's very much thrown in your face, being in the right place at the right time. Whereas before, there's always an element of luck in anything in life. Yeah. But we gave more time to theatre. We didn't cast our musical and theatre stars off of how many followers they have. It was about how talented you are, and is that someone I want to work with? Yeah. Now we've got people who can't do 8 shows a week or 9 shows a week because they're not trained and they lose their voice. Yeah. But that's okay because they're famous and they bring in lots of money. But if they're only doing half the shows every week, or they miss a shitload of the contracted hours they were supposed to do during their run, we seem to brush over it. Whereas my mum and people in the business, the old schools, the proper actors, would have been, hang on a second, if you're well trained and you know how to use your voice properly, which is why you're paid as a professional actor, because you trained at it, that's what you go to see, is someone who knows how to project, doesn't need to be microphoned. Everyone's mic'd now. Yeah. Apart from maybe a bit of theatre, all musicals are mic'd, everyone's mic'd. It's amazing. I know enough from that generation to know that is what makes you an artist. That's what makes you better than the average person.
That's
skill. The art, isn't it? That's the skill. That's the technical craft. That's the craft side of it. Then there's instinct and there's the way someone looks, or some people have what we call, sorry, people can't see me.
Air quote.
Yeah, air quote. But charisma. Yeah. Can you learn it, or are you born with it? Yeah. But for the people that aren't as charismatic as the others, and the people that play the character roles, the reason why they're good is because they've honed their craft. They've honed their instrument. Yeah. We don't accept someone who can't sing to be what's the word when they put effects on a singer's voice in the studio?
Auto-tune?
Auto-tune, right? We all talk about auto-tune, and sometimes it works for certain styles of music. But ultimately, if you go to see someone live, you want to see that singer singing live. I don't want to see Celine Dion or Taylor Swift or all these women, Beyonce, be auto-tuned when I've paid for 100 quid for a ticket.
Right.
And I don't want to go to the theatre and watch someone who has been a really, really famous soap star or won a 12-week Pop Idol contest and has now moved into soaps because no one employed them as a singer anymore, now singing on stage with a microphone because they're not properly trained in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, and
don't mean to sound bitter, but
no,
you know what I mean.
I think it's a completely relevant thing to say, and I do begrudge this kind of era that we're in, and I've spoken publicly on social media about how I feel about the skill of being an actor is making it look easy.
Yeah,
and because actors make it look easy. And with most creative endeavours, to be honest.
Yeah.
But particularly acting.
Because it's so instinctive as well as craft,
Because an actor is able to make it look easy because they've trained and worked at it, anybody thinks they can do it.
Yeah.
And it's, as you were saying, projection, voice use. My day job, I work for a speech and language therapist. And the amount of performers that come to see my boss because they fucked up their voice and they are trained vocally. Yeah,
it's you're constantly working on yourself. Yeah. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
You're not like and to play devil's advocate, there are things that have opened up opportunities. We have to embrace that is the way the industry is going.
Absolutely.
I also got to be very careful because when I talk passionately about it, or you talk passionately about it, we have to be very careful that we don't come across as the bitter actors.
No.
Because it's not the case either. There are some very, very talented people out there that have gone a reality TV route or, start off in perhaps a soap where, respect to them, but they only have so much time to film these scenes in a week. It's not like they get the time on a movie where you would spend weeks and months rehearsing and thinking about them. Yeah. There's 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. You don't really get many takes. So a lot of the time when we call, soap or sort of, that kind of rolled out reality television is because there's not the time and the money to give.
But I don't so much have a problem with necessarily say, soap stars going on to do musical theatre. That doesn't bother me so much.
There are some fantastic actors out there now.
What does bother me is when a YouTube star, and it was recently the case, gets cast in a lead role on the West End with no experience in acting, and has actually gone on record. I thought it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be fun to give it a go.
Yeah.
And I just think
you're belittling and you're, what's the word I'm looking for, but I don't know, I'm trying to find the word, but you're negating the work that goes into it, and you're kind of saying, well, it is just, it's just pick up some paints and draw a Picasso,
Yeah.
It's not the case.
And equally, I respect their passion to try it. And my issue isn't actually even with the individual that goes, do you know what? I'd really love to fucking give that a go.
Yeah.
Because that's where we all started. Yeah. We all went, do you know what? I'd love to fucking give that a go.
Yeah.
And then we end up training and
falling in love with it. It becomes a passion. Yeah.
So I support them for that.
Yeah.
What I dislike is the industry putting them in lead roles. Particularly then when those same people in the industry will talk about lack of diversity, lack of representation of the working class, lack of this, lack of that, and kind of go on the parade, but then when actually there are plenty of working class trained actors that are out there busting their balls that don't have a YouTube following. Yeah. That were equally right for the role.
We're not there. We're there for the growth of the burst onto the scene of social media and the internet, but we're just a little bit too behind to know how to make it work to the extent that it's just moved so quickly.
Yes.
It's moved so quickly. It's evolved so fast. People, even if they were around, I'm not a technophobe by all means, right? But I'm also always surprised at the level and the ingenuity that goes into promoting yourself on some of these platforms. But again, to play devil's advocate, I think you have to also realise that for you have to respect people for the way that they do evolve or the way that they do use these platforms, and instead of instead of feeling defeatist, if it's that important to you and you love it that much, then you have to find a way to survive and to learn from it. Yeah. And I think there are a lot of people that initially, and I'll be honest, because of my bitterness to the way my career was turning out, rather than watch them and listen to them and think, what can I learn from this person?
Yeah.
I may point the finger and say, oh, God, they've only got this job because of this, or they only got this job because of that. And I think
which is unfair.
Which is unfair as well.
Yeah.
And that's it, because, like you said, for all the ways we can criticise, there are people that are talented that have come through it.
But again, I don't blame the individuals though, and I don't point the finger at the individuals.
Yeah.
Because where I get annoyed.
Well, you've got to be successful. Why should they not be successful just because of what other people will think?
Absolutely. And I saw somebody, an actress that I know, tweet about this, and I just wanted to like shout it from the rooftops because I completely agree. Is the industry, when they're doing that and you know doing stunt casting, shall we call it, they're setting the actor. They're setting them up to fail miserably.
Yeah.
How can you cast somebody with no experience and expect them to be incredible?
Yeah. And
some of them are. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But
which brings the thing is, you know, are some people born with certain qualities? Absolutely.
But for the handful of people that have got that absolute raw talent where they are electric, you also have swathes of people that gave it a go. And perhaps even it was their dream all along, and that was their way in. Which kudos to them.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
Because they've been put such a spotlight on them, and they don't have not the talent, but the training and the skill.
Yeah. The longevity, which is what gives you that longevity in the business.
They are then held accountable for the failings of a production which was doomed to fail to begin with, because they've cast someone in the lead that isn't qualified.
Yeah, it's unqualified, and we look at people in other roles and other jobs, and it's about, you know, it's about rewarding the people that put the time and effort and work in and are qualified.
Yeah.
And before you become a doctor or a lawyer, you have to jump through many hoops, and you have to dedicate many years of your life to it. Unfortunately,
it's DIY versus tradesman.
This is it.
Like my dad can see a bad DIY job from a mile off.
Yeah.
But
we can in the acting industry as well, but we accept it because it's making money. As long as it's making money, then it's okay. Absolutely. Whereas if your house falls down or someone comes around and your skirting is coming undone after 2 months, you'll want to get your money back, wouldn't you?
My dad, who is a carpenter by trade, building site manager these days, the amount of times he has walked into a room and been like, you're in trouble. Like, you need to get that fixed. My dad, I remember my dad walked into a building once and was like, you need to condemn this building. It's falling down.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then it was condemned and later destroyed. A building that was being used, I mean, public liability insurance be damned. Like, everybody was screwed. And like... But you can spot that if you know what you're looking for.
Well, I've seen some shows and I've seen some plays, and I won't mention any names, but it was so bad they should have condemned the theatre right there and then, right. So that we didn't have to sit through any more of it, or listen to any more, and watch people, even on television, can't speak, don't understand what they're saying.
Yeah.
Some top actors. One particular show comes to mind, and it wasn't just me. I would talk to people and I would say, you know, I've enjoyed it. I love watching this person, but I can't understand a word they're saying.
Yeah.
How amazing! Well, why did we go from I'm not expecting everyone to go back to the 1930s and 40s where everybody talks like this. But at the same time, there's something quite enjoyable about watching someone that has a good grasp of the English language and knows how to speak properly.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. Even if you're doing slang or Cockney, that's not the issue. It's you know, pronunciation and not letting words just get in the back of your mouth. You know, I talk like that because I'm a movie actor and you know, my face doesn't move because. Oh, hang on, so I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. So what difference does it make?
Yeah.
Got great eyes. Your eyes never flinch, but I can't understand what you're fucking saying, mate.
Yeah. And I mean, it's easy to get frustrated, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's very easy to get frustrated with the position that the industry is in,
and the position that we're in sometimes, or
and not just not just in terms of reality stars and stunt casting and things like this.
It'd be unfair to.
But I mean, I saw, and I won't name the production. I can't believe the audacity to announce this before International Women's Day. But there's a production which is very well known to be female-led production, and one of the lead female roles is being played by a bloke.
So brilliant.
West End production. I think it's touring, but West End level production.
But how sad as well that we're living in a time where we're not allowed to mention names as well. We should be able to have open discussion and discourse. We should be able to have an opinion. You don't have to listen to my opinion. You don't have to agree with it.
Quite right.
And if I'm not insulting and I'm not being abusive and I'm not saying you have to sit here and listen to it, then we can talk about what we want. All we have to do is switch a switch, and you don't have to listen to it. But we should be able to talk about the fact that wasn't done well. That production was unfair. It's been poorly cast. They've rushed it. They've thrown loads of money into it, but it's been created cheaply, and there should be equal pay. And why are we casting people just so that we can cast them because their skin color? Why don't we cast people just based on how good they are at acting? And the cream will rise to the top, and you will get diversity.
But equally, the argument could be made that the problem is that the people making those decisions aren't diverse.
Yeah, agreed. Completely agreed.
I mean, look at BAFTA. Look at
absolutely,
all of that stuff.
The movies are out there. They're just not prepared to, we were talking before we started this. It's laziness as well. People are not prepared to look into it and open their mind to other platforms and other films and other budget, lower budget films, etc. But the movies are out there. The actors are there.
This is why Hollywood struggled recently because all of these scripts and concepts have gone all around the studios, to traditional studios that have basically had a monopoly on the entire industry for the last 50 years. And they've turned around and gone, no, actually, we don't. It doesn't match our formula that we use for all of our scripts and all of our
and they're
films
scared,
and all of our
right,
TV
as well.
shows. And then on the fringes, you have Netflix going, we'll have it.
Yeah, exactly. But I think there's always a fear. There's always a fear of the unknown. People aren't prepared to buck the trend and change things.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly. And if it's making money, then who cares? But I do think we're in a big time of change. I think I was a podcast actually that I was listening to, and the person speaking was saying, every generation wants to be the one that changes the world.
Yeah, it's true.
And unfortunately, you won't know the change you've made until you're either very, very old or not here anymore.
Yeah.
That's just the way it works. We're here for such a short space of time. In the grand scheme of things, it's a moment that our lives are on this planet, and the problem with human beings is we're inherently impatient, and we want to see things, we want to see all our good hard work come into fruition. But it doesn't always work that way. And I think there's a generation of young people, particularly the millennials, that need to understand that you're not going to save the world while you're doing your degree at university, 18, 19-year-olds who are incredibly angry and frustrated because they're not seeing the change they want. But it doesn't work that way. No. I'm an optimist, and I think there's a lot of great things going on, and it always fluctuates. And for all the crap that's out there, there is also some amazing work being done, and I love to see the changes that are going on in film and TV. I hope that's transcending to the theatre as well, because I don't go to the theatre as much as I used to. So I still believe that while what we're saying is valid and there's a lot of truth in it, there's also a lot of positives, and I do have faith. I think the human race gets there in the end. Unfortunately, there has to be some suffering, or a lot of suffering along the way.
Yeah. So I think we should probably, full disclosure.
Absolutely.
You're in a bit of a transitional period,
to say the least.
In that, not to say that you've retired from the old acting career, but it's very much on the back burner.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely.
So I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit in the sense of what had you hoped? What, because I know some of it comes from not necessarily frustration, but a lack of fulfillment, shall we say, in certain areas of life. So what was it that you'd hoped that and what was it that you didn't get that kind of, or did get that kind of...
I mean, it's a very good question. It's one that I've wanted. One of the main reasons I'm here today is to talk about it. I think it's a little bit of therapy for myself, actually, to talk about it, especially with a fellow actor, because in a safe environment, we don't get to talk about it much. And I hope that for those for those actors or performers or people who hear what I'm about to say, I hope that it helps them either to keep them going or to make them feel all right with giving it up or taking a step back. Yeah. I don't think we ever retire as actors because we are the way we are. I think the business can end up retiring us.
Yeah.
And I've always felt guilty about saying this, but I just wanted to be famous. I wanted to be famous.
I wanted think you should feel guilty.
No, I don't, and I don't think we do. But I think society does make actors feel that way.
Yeah.
But it was like, well, will I be? I want to make lots of money and have lots of nice things. What's wrong with that? Everyone wants that, but we're made to feel guilty about loving materialistic stuff. It doesn't bring absolute happiness. I'm well aware of that. I want a good family and I want my roots to be stable.
Yeah.
But I also would like to go on nice holidays and see amazing things and be able to get my children what they want at Christmas, and as long as people understand that is not ultimately the only thing that's going to make you happy. But I enjoy. I want to make a difference. We all want to do these things, right?
Yeah.
But they're so cliche that we're then made to feel embarrassed about them. I always want to be in movies. I watch a film every night. I watch a movie in some description. Old, new, bad, good, right? I go to the cinema a lot, and I've always watched movie stars and wanted to emulate them. And I thought I would love to go into acting, to be in a big TV show or in a big movie, be on the big screen, and for people to say, "Oh, Michael Peluso, what an incredible actor. He was so amazing," and for people to idolize me. I wanted that, and I'm not, and I've been ashamed of saying it for many, many years. So that was my goal. People ask me, what kind of acting do you like to do? I've always loved theatre because it's live.
Yeah.
But because there wasn't as much money in it, right? I wanted the women, be around beautiful women, be around dancers, be around sexy actresses, sleep around and enjoy life. That's what I wanted to do. Get my end away as well.
Yeah.
That was it. Could I have been a doctor? Could I have been a lawyer? I wasn't passionate enough about it to dedicate the amount of time to become successful at other jobs that pay you really well and you can have an incredible life. And so I admire those people, and I look at them admirably for their patience and their commitment. But I grew up around it. My mum was an actress. Her name was Linda Bellingham. She was an incredible mother, but also an actress that never believed she reached her heights. But my God, if I could have emulated a career like that over 40 years in the business, I would have died a happy man.
So I was when you said about, wanting to be famous and everything, and I did wonder, because obviously, your mum's not an actress that nobody's heard of.
Yeah.
The country was,
she's very well known in this country.
In their own kind of bereavement.
Yeah.
When she passed away a few years back. And, I wonder, and so I suppose on that basis, because she was so well known and, did reach, considerable heights, how much, I suppose, whether or not looking at your mum's career influenced your desire for the fame.
Yeah.
Or conversely, whether or not there was any kind of warning from your mum to say, well, actually, son, it ain't that easy. I've either been, I don't know enough about how your mum's career took off.
It's a very good point, actually, and it leads me to something that I've started to be aware of later on, and having given it up recently. Absolutely massive influence on my decision of how I would leave my mark on this world based on the lifestyle I was used to with having a famous mum. And look, she wasn't an international star, and she always wanted, like me, to be a famous movie actress, and I was very insecure about the fact that she was never seen as a Helen Mirren or a Julie Walters or a Judi Dench, right?
That's
she was she was never quite seen that. Pardon me. She was never quite seen in that thing, but she was a huge TV star. She was very, very loved. And yes, there was a huge outpour of emotion and mourning, and we had incredible support from the general public when she passed away, which was lovely. But I was very used to growing up in a household that was very financially well off. I went to lots of movie premieres, and I met lots of famous people, and I got invited to audience with such and such. And I grew up on TV and film sets and had copious amounts of attention from people on set and just grew up in that world that I was like, this is what I want to maintain.
Yeah.
And the only way I can, when you start becoming aware of, that one day your mum won't be here anymore, you're like, well, I want to be in this life. Like, this has been my childhood. I want to continue living like this. This is fun. Oh, now I'm a teenager. Oh, look at all the hot women that are in this industry. I want to sleep with them. Oh, look at the wonderful life my mum's provided for me. I want to be able to provide that for myself and my kids.
Yeah.
Absolutely. In terms of my mum warning me against it, she never would have done that because she was a parent that was like, whatever makes you happy, I'll support you.
Good.
Which is amazing. And I think we should do that with our kids. But I also resent that there wasn't an element of honesty in terms of, but it's going to be fucking hard, mate.
Yeah.
And you won't get anywhere if you don't work. Her thing was like, I just always believed I'd be an actress. It was something I always wanted. I wasn't like that when I was a kid. I was having too much fun. I had too much of an idyllic childhood to really know what I wanted to be.
Yeah.
My dad never really realised what he wanted to do in life, and had a restaurant and did very, very well with his business. But things like acting, art, specific roles where you won't get anywhere unless you focus on it. Some people fall into jobs, and some people just know what they want to be since they're a kid.
Yeah.
And I never knew that. Mine was just about maintaining and keeping what I'd already lived around. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
And actually, I'm surprised because I had always assumed, I mean, we've known each other, we were just saying, for about 5 years now.
Yeah.
I had always assumed that, yes, there was an element of having experienced it and kind of maintaining of it, I suppose.
Yeah.
But I'd always assumed that you'd caught the bug because of your exposure to it and you'd gone, wow, this world's really, really great. And it's what I want to do and had always wanted to do.
I love it. I'm an actor. I'm an artist.
Yeah. Because I mean, that's kind of where
I see it in you, and
and
that's why I love you. I love you for it. I respect you for it.
And I completely caught the bug, and I assumed that was kind of the same with you, but it was more. More kind of the nostalgia, I suppose.
Yeah, nostalgia, lifestyle choice. How can I make money, and how can I be successful and leave my mark on this world?
Yeah.
Well, this is something that comes naturally to me. My mum is well respected in the industry, so that's going to help me. Which
I wanted to talk to you about
which we can move on to as well.
Yeah.
I think I think my passion for acting grew, but initially my desire to do it was for the wrong reasons. And then through spending so much time reading and studying and getting my degree, I actually organically started to fall in love with acting and performing and realised that it was something that I could do.
By which point you were already training?
By which point I'm already training. I've already got an agent. I'd already worked, but thanks to my mum, I'd had jobs as well.
Right.
Partly because of my mum and partly just because people had seen me and were giving me an opportunity.
Yeah.
So, there were things that worked for me in having a mum in the industry, and there were things that also worked against me, which, we can get into.
So, I mean, one of the big questions that I really wanted to ask you was, everybody talks about, it's not what you know, it's who you know, and you knew a lot of people, a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've talked about your relationships with many of them, and yet here we are.
Yeah.
The door was right there.
Yeah.
For you for many, many opportunities.
Yeah.
So you say some stuff helped, some stuff didn't help.
Some doesn't help, yeah.
What happened?
So this is always the thing that people say, oh, can't your mum help you out? I mean, couldn't your mum have done something? Like, why are you still struggling actor? Like, couldn't you? And there's a few reasons. It's not so black and white. But first and foremost, I despite being aware of my position, having a mum in the industry, I also have enough self-respect. I'm not willing to sell my soul to the devil.
Yeah.
I want people to respect me for having got somewhere myself. And it goes back to what we were saying about celebritism.
Yeah.
One thing that sets you up as well long term, and one of the reasons why some people lose it and go off the rails and have a lot of issues with fame is because they haven't properly earned something in life. And when you haven't earned something in life, it means that you're not gonna feel you're not going to respect yourself within.
Yeah.
And that means haven't got the foundations to survive in that world.
Yeah.
So it's fucking hard. And anyone that thinks they understand what it's like to be famous hasn't got a clue. I've had a small taste of it, particularly after my mum died. Some of the attention I got was quite shocking how invasive it is. You don't know. You just don't know. And even now I forget sometimes I judge people.
Can I just say, and I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but I struggled as your friend with some of the invasive behaviour.
Yeah.
And walking into Sainsbury's and seeing your personal life, which we'd spoken about in the pub only 2 weeks prior, plastered all over the front page of the newspaper.
And that bears...
I struggled, and it wasn't even me.
And in comparison to what we're seeing recently with, Caroline Flack, it bared no comparison, because they couldn't even get that close to me, because I wasn't the famous person that they were actually talking about.
Yeah.
But to worry about who's calling your phone, to have unknown numbers calling you. So I've lost my train of thought, but I think we were talking about whether it's positive or negative, right? To have a famous mum. So the first thing was I never used her name. So I didn't call myself Michael Bellingham. I used my name that I'd been born with, and that was my stage name. That was the name I chose to. I liked the name Michael Peluso. I was proud of being half Italian. I was proud of my father's heritage, and I didn't want people to see me as, Michael Bellingham is using her name and da, da, da.
Yeah.
Having said that, looking back in hindsight, it might have been a different story, not hugely, for the next point I'm going to take, but maybe if I'd used her surname, it might have got me into a few more doors, but ultimately how you perform in the audition process is still on you. It doesn't matter how your mum is.
Yeah.
That said, again, she was very successful in this country, but there is a stratospheric group of actors and actresses who are so successful and so famous and big movie stars and are so powerful within the industry that their children really, really can benefit. And I don't think that my mum was quite in that select few.
Sure.
So that was one thing, but certainly it helped me with drama school, and it helped me get a few jobs that I've had in the past as a result of who she was, and it did get me into some audition rooms as a result, and it did help me with agents.
Yeah.
But once I got there, it was then a case of you still need to prove yourself, because if you're shit and you're not good at what you're doing, you don't know your craft, we can't put you on television or in the theatre. And then there was also the negative thing, which people don't realise, which is, if you're not in that stratospheric category, and maybe there are people whose parents are right up there, movie stars, that might agree with me, but I always felt that it was still a case of, why should we give him a job when he's got it easy? His mum's famous. Let's give it to someone who really deserves it. Yeah? Let's give it to the guy who comes from out of town, who's not got the help of having a well-off, famous mum. Does he deserve, even if he can perform well and we think he's done a good audition, we feel like he's always had a bit of extra help, so he doesn't deserve it as much. And I certainly felt that a little bit as well.
Do you think that's your own insecurity?
Yeah, possibly. I don't think it's entirely that, but I think there's a little element of truth in everything. And I think sometimes it was a case of, well, he's kind of got it sorted anyway, so he'll be all right.
Yeah, he doesn't need
He doesn't need it. Someone else will give him a job eventually. Let's give it to the unknown. And then a little bit was my own insecurity as well.
Yeah.
Which shows on camera. And the camera you can't lie on camera. The camera picks up everything, and that might have been why I also was not very good at auditioning. I was always very affected when it came to auditions, which I found out, very, very recently has been a big part of my self-realization.
So let's talk about that, because I think after a while, and the sooner you learn this as an actor, I think the better. Your job is auditioning.
Yeah.
That's the job.
Yeah. You can be the greatest actor in the world, but if you're not good at auditions, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm my own personal situations at the minute, limiting the amount of auditions that I do, but I'm, I was having a bit of a breakdown with somebody the other day because I haven't got self-tapes down.
Yeah.
And the industry's gone so self-tape heavy, and I'm like, my self-tapes are not as good as my auditions in the room, and it's costing me work. And so let's talk about auditions. So what was it about auditions that kind of the penny dropped for you?
Well, again, it's so we're talking about how things have changed and what our expectations were. There was no self-tape auditioning when I went to drama school.
Yeah.
That's something that's come about a lot recently.
Yeah.
And when it started, it was only for the big movie roles that they would self-tape. Now it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
Now sometimes you're going into audition rooms and it's the casting director's essentially just doing the self-tape for you, right?
Yeah.
And I like, and I like, they're just sending them off. And because perhaps the ones they're getting are so bad. And it goes back again to, well, not only do you have to train at your craft, but you have to be a salesman.
Yep.
You have to know how to be an Instagrammer and a blogger and have a podcast show, and you have to be able to have your own setup. So now you've got all these actors with these incredible cameras. They're investing in lights. Yeah. It's getting out of hand. Yeah. When initially it was just about.
And equally, the conversation is still happening about lack of diversity and working class representation.
There you go.
And this is what I was saying in this breakdown to my friend. Is like, at the end of the day, like, I don't care how much you say the quality doesn't matter. Yeah. The quality helps.
Of course it does.
The quality helps.
Yeah.
We all know as actors what amazing lighting can do to how you look.
But then how many people have I watched on YouTube, actors that are now movie stars and big TV stars, where they've done I can talk about I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Am I allowed to say the names of the shows and stuff like that? So the big Netflix show, the one with all the kids and Stranger Things, right? Yeah. And then this incredible show comes out, and then you start seeing the auditions that the kids did. And one of them, the girl sat on her bed with her laptop, right? Yeah. And then another one, the guy kind of walks on, takes his top off, and does the whole thing with no top on, with his torso showing. Yeah. And if I do that, some casting directors tell me, "Oh, don't do too much." And other people say, "Oh, he was just so confident with his self-tape. The fact that he came on and took his shirt off and started doing his lines with no shirt on, half naked."
Well, I think of Jason Momoa for Game of Thrones doing the hacker.
There you go.
And you think, yeah, well done, Jason. And then sometimes you also go, but some casting directors would go, "This isn't what I asked for."
There you go. Imagine if you went to the actual casting. So forget the self-tape. Imagine if I go along to my audition and I'm like, "Well, I've come in the Tudors and Stuarts, or what's the word I'm looking for? Clothing of the era." Yeah. What's the word I'm looking for? God,
a costume.
Costume, right? But period drama,
yeah.
Right? So you end up renting yourself. How far do you go, right?
Yeah.
So you end up renting yourself a period costume and turning up and sitting in the waiting room with everyone in their normal clothes and you in your period costume. And some people would walk in there and they'd go, "Oh my God, what fucking balls this guy's had! Like, he looks fantastic." And that's who I want. Or they go, "This person's trying too much.
Yeah.
They're too needy.
Yeah.
And they want it too much that I'm now." The fourth wall's broken and I don't buy it.
Full disclosure, is not recommending hiring period costume.
Absolutely, just side note. Don't invest that much in the first round of auditions. Perhaps if you're on the third round or something, you might. But again, I went through that as well, man. Just the pain and suffering of, am I doing it right? Who should I do it? Should I do it like them? And my message to people would be, just do what you want to do. Right? And if it doesn't work, don't then think about, "Oh, I got the job because of that." Because you don't know until which room you're going into.
I mean, fucking hell. I was listening to a podcast earlier about actors' auditions, and they were saying how they'd heard back from, I think it was the casting assistant or something, for this audition, and they were like, "Oh my God, I just completely loved your performance. Like, it was completely just like, I still think about it even now. Like, it made me like weep inside. It was so on the nose." She didn't get booked for that job.
There you go.
Like, you can still fucking ace it and still not get booked.
And they might remember you for another time, or a lot of the time they don't remember you.
And I think it's one of the things that I kind of picked up early in my career, and I love it. The video for Bryan Cranston saying it's a sales pitch. It's not an interview. Yeah. Like, you rock up, you do your job, and you say, "Here's what I can do with what you've given me." Yeah. And if they want it, they'll buy it. And if they don't, they won't. Yeah. And I think looking at it much more as a sales pitch and going, "Here's my interpretation. Here's what I will do with it."
Ultimately, it's so subjective. And what works, what someone sees in you and some others don't. And it's, are you able to stand the tests of time and be around long enough that you go into the room and that's the part. And I've had moments like that and it didn't work out for me, right? Yeah. Which we'll talk about, I'm sure. But then there are other times where people don't have to stand the test of time. It might be the second, third, or even the first audition they do out of drama school, and they just manage to be in the right place at the right time, where that casting director, is something about them that they connect with, and they put them in a huge show. And then once you're that famous, the rest will come. Having said that, though, going back on why we get into things, I think a big realization for me was realizing that I did get into it for the wrong reasons initially. Yeah. And that you are up against people that really, really love it and are thinking, you know, every hour of the day is spent, even if it's not always at the forefront of their mind, they're thinking about themselves as an actor and they're living their day-to-day life and making choices about their life based on their acting career.
Yeah.
I was very much Michael Peluso in my life, and Michael Peluso the actor when it required me to be. And you have to marry the two.
Yeah.
And you can have a family, and you can do both,
Yeah.
but you have to maintain.
It's not a career; it's a lifestyle choice.
Exactly. And that was where I never did that. I did it in patches, and it would work for me, and I would get some work, and then I might become complacent or take my eye off the ball, or there were outside factors that would come along and affect that. I know I keep going off the main question, but the main question about auditions, right?
Yeah.
The main question about auditions. I didn't feel worthy because I think I was being dishonest with myself, and I think I knew deep down that I wasn't always doing it for the right reasons. I think the pressure of having a famous mum and worrying that people are going, this person's son, and expecting more from me was always playing on the back of my mind, and the pressure of if I don't get this job, I'll be unemployed and working some shitty call center job for the next few weeks until the next audition. Played on my mind so much, I just couldn't leave it at the door. And no matter how much I learnt my lines, no matter how much I studied, because that's another thing, just learn your fucking lines, man, and just be yourself, and eventually the right part will come along for you.
Yeah.
But I tried so hard to be what I thought they wanted, and I was so worried about failure that I would forget my lines and fluff it, and it'd be going really, really well. Or some auditions, there wasn't a lot of dialogue. And I might, but for me, remembering my dialogue was just a fucking nightmare. And I could never, and I tried so many things to get over it. I read, I meditated, I watched films. Some auditions went really well. And the first and second round were fine. And then I get to the third round.
Pressure.
Pressure. Or just, I don't know, man. Just the way I was feeling that day, the way I slept the night before, the way my dad made me feel on a certain day because I have an interesting relationship with him, or stuff going on in the news about my mum's death, or a girlfriend, all that kind of stuff. Some people are just built differently, and that's why not every actor that gets into this industry is successful.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be it wouldn't be the world it is if everyone who went into what they wanted to be hit the same heights. Then it wouldn't be a pleasure to hit those heights, right?
Yeah, of course.
8 billion people in the world. And 7 billion of them are actors. And unfortunately, you can't all be successful. And what I admire about true artists, and I consider you in this, is people who really, really love the art side. It doesn't matter where they end up with it; they'll always just have a need to constantly be doing it. Is that they don't think about the financial side of things or the lifestyle, and that doesn't come into it. They just do it for the love of doing it. For me, the pressure of maintaining the lifestyle if I don't get this job was greater than the love for it, and so ultimately the scales tip the wrong way, and it affects you. You can't.
Sure. Became about all of the positives that come with.
Yeah. And it gets tiring, and that's where you start to get bitter because you're like, why me? Is it me? And you don't want to be honest with yourself. And then there was one particular job I got. The week of my mum's funeral, I went for this audition. And it ended up being bought by Netflix, and it was an NBC show. It was a network show. So, if you asked me what were your expectations, well, my expectations would be to be in a movie and for people to find me that way, or to be in a big TV drama. And at the time there was Game of Thrones and True Detective was on, and that was like the big HBO show, and the other networks all had their shows, and this was going to be NBC's big show. It was every Sunday 8 p.m. I had a reoccurring character. I was filming in Morocco, in Ouarzazate for 6 weeks, playing a character that was signed up for 3 seasons, making just under 10 grand an episode. And I was like, I've lost my mum, but if you want me to believe in Archangel, she's up there now pulling the strings. Yeah. Because I went for one audition at Spotlight, got the job, and then
from one audition at Spotlight?
From one audition.
Wow.
NBC.
For a recurring role?
To play a historical character, a real historical character. Wow. I was like, how did I do this? I learnt my lines, I went in, and I remember watching Michael Caine's acting on screen, looked at the right side of the camera. All that was going through my mind was, don't move too much, don't blink too much, make sure that you're looking at the right side of the camera to the person talking to you so that your eyes don't shift. All of that technical crap, right? Which is amazing. If anyone hasn't watched the acting on screen, Michael Caine, that is the Bible. Go and watch it. And but I didn't feel relaxed in the slightest. My mind was thinking of, in a sense, it was like thinking about my mum and the funeral, and so I wasn't thinking about failure. I was just thinking about getting through it.
Took the pressure off yourself.
So, and then it was probably good to watch, and it was intense, and they liked it, and I got that part. And everyone, while the filming was going on, was like, "This is like Game of Thrones meets the Bible. It's going to be incredible. Like, it's definitely going to go for another season." You know, I'm getting over. My mum's died in the October. I'm filming in the following January. It's only been 3 or 4 months. There's a lot of shit going on in the background. I'm having the time of my life in Morocco. I'm buying myself a new car. I'm spending money on holidays. I'm, sleeping around with girls, and I'm having the time of my life simply to get over the death of my mum. And I'm spending all the money that I'm earning, having a whale of a time, by the way. Yeah, it was one of the best years of my life, 2015. And then we get to June, July. It's being shown in America. No one's told me that I should go out to LA and promote myself, which again was where I felt a little bit let down by my agent. And again, looking back now, I think that someone should have been on me a bit more. Of course. And we'll talk about that again as well. But the point I'm trying to make, the long-winded point I'm trying to make, is even when you think you've made it, and you have made it, you're there. Not even that the contract failed. I was on set filming.
That's when the real work begins.
That's when the real work begins. And I became complacent. I thought, this is it. Now people are going to see me every weekend. Someone's going to then, the show's going to be for another 2 years. So I'm going to come back. I'm going to be able to hone my craft. I'm going to get, regular time on set. It didn't get commissioned for a second season. It didn't turn out to be as good as people thought it was going to be once it was on the screen, and that's the end. And now it's just a distant memory. Yeah. And I never ever hit those heights again. Had some great auditions in adverts. I had some little cameos in some films, but I never ever got that reoccurring part in a big American network show that so many actors would be like, that's the aim, right? Get to that point and the rest will follow. It's not the case. It doesn't always happen that way.
Hey guys, so I just wanted to take a few minutes just to talk about my friends over at Anchor, who are not only sponsoring this episode of the podcast, but making it possible in so many other ways, in that they are actually my podcast hosts. They're the people that I upload the podcast to in order for it to get to your devices, essentially. They host it. If you've ever considered launching a podcast, I definitely check them out. If you've not heard of Anchor, let me explain. So first of all, and which is probably the best thing for you to hear straight up, is that it's free. There's no cost at all for you to use Anchor, which is so different to so many other podcasting platforms. And to be honest, there are some podcast platforms out there that are free, but usually come with a bit of a catch, or some premium models, but that's not the case for Anchor at all. And there are creation tools that Anchor have that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or from your computer. So you don't need any additional microphones or any software or, any expense really on getting your podcasts recorded and off the ground, at least in the first instance. And Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms, some of which I've never even heard of until I started using Anchor. And it can be a real pain to get those distribution models set up as well when you're first launching, particularly if you don't know what you're doing, but Anchor takes care of all of that for you. You don't even have to lift a finger. And you can make money from your podcast as well with sponsorships like this, with no minimum listenership, which getting sponsorship deals used to be so difficult because you need listenerships of like 10,000 listens per episode. It used to be nuts, but Anchor will get all that sorted and they'll set up the deals for you. So again, you don't have to lift a finger. So really, it's everything you need to make a podcast all in one place with minimal effort on your part. I cannot oversell this. That is why they're now my podcast hosting platform of choice, my go-to. No other options are really on the table for me right now. So if you have been considering launching a podcast, do check them out. Download the free Anchor app onto your mobile device or go to anchor.fm to get started. So we touched on, very briefly then, business acumen.
Yeah.
Did you feel lacking? Did you learn anything from it all? Is there anything you would have done differently about managing your career up until this point? Do you think, because you know how much I am on kind of
I learned a lot from you. I learned a lot from you. Yeah, I learned a lot from you about all of that stuff. I think I've always felt a step behind. Right. And I don't know, I'm sure that lots of people can relate to this. I've just always felt like I'm just that little bit behind. And by the time I get up to speed, something else has come along and it's too late.
Yeah.
And that again comes back to how much time do you dedicate to your craft?
Sure.
Because if you're in and around it all the time and you're always thinking and reading and watching and listening, you will be there at the right place at the right time. But if you're not, and you're putting relationships first, and you're always putting your children first, and other people and other aspects in your life first, or your job that pays the bills, and so that becomes so all-encompassing because you feel constrained financially that you don't put the time into your craft, then of course you'll always be a step behind. And that's what I've realised now. And you can't be poor me, it's just not happened for me, I'm unlucky. No, you need to be more proactive. You need to read more, you need to get out there more and listen and learn so that you are at the forefront of it. But I didn't do enough of that. And I guess I just always hoped it would fall into my lap. And we all think we've got what it takes. We all think we're great, and we all think we've got the qualities that if I can just find that person that sees in me what I see in me.
Yeah.
But you also have to be honest with yourself and say, Michael, you're not putting the time into it that needs to be done.
Yeah.
And you haven't made the sacrifices that you should have made.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you must always be learning. I have learned a hell of a lot. I'm glad I did. There was a time where I was actually in quite a good place, but then there are other elements, right? Which is being made redundant or finding a job that is flexible, that pays the bills.
Yeah.
And I think from between 2018 until the beginning of the end of last year, August last year, for the whole of 2018 and the whole of 2019, I was working consistently. I had a new agent. I had my website. My social media platforms were going really, really well.
Yeah, you were really pushing.
And I was really pushing it. And I was like, fuck, I've done it. This is it. But again, I fell in love, and I put a lot of time into that. I got made redundant in August. And I'd been there for 8 years in that job, call center. Yeah. And so, there were other things that came in that affected me in my life, which means, okay, now what do you do? Do I earn less and find a 0 hours contract? Do I go back to working in a restaurant, working in a bar? There are certain jobs that actors have to do. We can't work proper 9 to 5s because no one will employ us. Yeah. So, that I'm sort of leading on to another subject topic now, but there is lots that I've learned, and I think that you can always be learning, but you've got to be thinking about it all the time, and that's what it comes back to. How passionate, how much do you want it? Yeah.
So 2 topics that I do want to touch on that you kind of touched on briefly there. One a bit selfishly, and the other not so much. And I'll let you choose which one you want to go for first. One, the day job, managing that, and how you manage that. Particularly, I've worked in call centers. Yeah. The first few years when I was living in London, I worked in call centers. So maybe whether your thoughts on that. Yeah. And the other topic is fatherhood. Yeah. And being a parent. This is the selfish one because I'm a new dad. And kind of managing that, and you were talking about, being able to put the amount of time. I think you often hear the side of actresses as moms and managing the two. Yeah. But I can't tell you I actually heard any views on fatherhood. I hear on podcasts people go, "Oh yeah, no, I got kids," and then kind of that's it. Yeah. So yeah, whichever.
Again, I think everything we've spoken about today, we have to remember that it's only from our perspective and my experience. Absolutely. And a lot of people will have completely different ways of seeing it, and it's important that we're open to that and realise that what I'm saying is not the same for every single journey. The other thing I appreciate for listeners, I've said a lot of contradictory things today as well. There'll be a lot of things that
welcome to the industry.
Welcome to the industry where you can contradict yourself, and I just want people to know I'm fully aware of that. Yeah. But it doesn't make it any less true. Yeah. That's just the way it is. So fatherhood. Look, you can do whatever you feel you can handle. God never gives us more than we can handle in life. Do whatever you want to do. If it makes you happy, do it. And if you want to have a family and chase the acting, that's fine. Going back to saying, you can't compare yourself to all the top movie stars, because that's just it's unrealistic. You can believe in it, and there's no reason why you won't get there. But I can say from my own experience and from watching other people that I admire and listening to what they say. So we'll do the parent thing first. Are they the best parents in the world? The people right at the top that are filming all the time on film sets for 12 weeks at a time? Their children probably tell you they weren't. They'd probably say my dad was never around. Yeah. But he put you in an incredible school, and you went on jet skis every time you went on holiday, and you went to Disneyland for free and didn't have to queue. Yeah, but he didn't spend any time with me. He was always on film sets cheating on my mum, and then we had like a really famous divorce, and I'm fucked, and I've got a coke addiction because my movie star father was never around there for me, or never showed me enough love. Then you've got someone who would say, oh, it was amazing, he's the best dad in the world. Like when he wasn't on set, I'd probably be in his trailer anyway, and then when he wasn't on set, we were always out there. But you know what, him and my mum never worked out because they were never together. There's always a plus and a minus to what you do. It doesn't mean you should go into it worrying about that, but that work-life balance and spinning the plates, there's yin and yang, man. It's never, ever, ever going to be perfect. And there's no way that you can dedicate yourself 100% to being a great parent and 100% to your acting. It's impossible. But I'll tell you something right now. If you are not 100% committed to this industry, you will only get so far. But then you have to decide, are you okay with that? I think some people are okay with just doing their local theatre and a bit of TV here and there, and they might get a little commercial job on TV, which is like a big thing for them, and they go to Lithuania for 2-3 days and film it, and then they might not. There are different levels to this business.
Absolutely, which isn't talked about enough.
It's not talked about enough, and I think one of the things for me, the reason why I've stopped acting is that for me that didn't satisfy me enough. It was either going to be the top echelon, or it was either go or broke for me. And that's where I knew that I don't love the industry in the same way that some other actors do. Some other actors, it's not about that. They genuinely couldn't care less if they become famous or not. And sometimes they're the ones that end up becoming the most successful as well because of that very reason. They don't have that pressure on them because they do it for the love of it. But that doesn't mean that we should respect that actor more than the actor like me or like others who do want to make the money and do. Marlon Brando got into it because he just wanted to sleep around. He'll tell you, I got into it for the women. So, we shouldn't make judgments on anyone in this world, but you've got to accept what your level of success is going to be, particularly with parenthood or with your relationships, because there's an element of sacrifice and an element of selfishness that you need to accept in order for you to be top, to be really, really successful, in my opinion, in this industry. But there are a lot of people that you'll never know, you'll never see them or hear of them. You've probably seen them a lot, but you don't really remember them, who have stable careers, who continue to act their whole lives. They're happy. They've got a family. They haven't got hundreds and millions and thousands of pounds in the bank, but they have a family.
They
pay their bills, and they have a family and their career.
And all they do is act.
And they do panto every year in the local pub that everyone goes to, or the local community centre, and everyone in that community knows who they are or thinks they're fantastic. Like you said, there have probably been more great actors not seen than seen in this world.
And that's partly why I do this podcasting thing. Is because and deliberately, I'm calling on actors I know that are not names. That you may have seen them in the occasional thing here and there, but they're not people that you'd go, oh yeah, I can't wait to listen to what they've got to say, because I think that's too easy, and it only feeds the machine.
They only hear that one side of the story.
Absolutely. That's a good point, and actually, I think the real value in this industry, and my goal has always been to earn 100% of my cash from being an actor.
That's my job. That's what I do.
No question. The only thing I do, whether that be through voiceover work, whether that be through corporate work, whether that be through role play or
teaching or
whatever, I want to be able to say unequivocally, I am just an actor.
That's it, mate.
That's the goal. And there are so many people, more actors I know that is the goal,
Yeah.
than actually actors that want to be famous.
Just to be famous and get to that point, yeah.
Equally, I do have certain things like dream roles that I'd love to do, dream projects I'd love to work on, which the byproduct of either the byproduct of working on those projects or the prerequisite of working on those projects is a level of fame.
Yeah. Or am I going to learn something as well from it as well? Am I going to challenge myself doing this job?
But it's not, the doing of the job has nothing to do with the fame. The doing of the job is, I want to play.
Yeah,
I want to play
in
that
fun.
world.
Yeah.
I want to play on that set.
Yeah.
I want to play with those special effects.
Yeah.
I want to try that. I want to experience that. Yeah.
See, here's where I'm going to contradict myself, because don't get me wrong, there was an element of pure, unadulterated love and passion for that.
Yeah.
You know, I love nothing more. The only time I've ever been truly happy in my life was on set. Messing around, having a laugh with the gaffer, director, producers, fellow actors, making jokes in between each take.
Yeah.
You know, one of my happiest places is sitting in a makeup truck shooting the shit. I'm so glad you reminded me of this line, because I'm using it all the time now. With the costume girls and the makeup girls, I love it. I love the camaraderie. I love how close you get in a short space of time with people. You make friends for life, and then you probably don't work with them again ever again. And if you do, it's going to be a long time away. That is when I've been truly happy. I think where the reality sets in that I don't love it in the same way that you do is that then I wasn't prepared to go back and do the local theatre or the small low budget short films or the things that you need to do to keep your instrument in tune, so that when the big things come along, you're ready for them. You know, when I was doing, Artemis Fowl last year, and I've got my own trailer, I'm like,
doing Artemis Fowl?
Yeah, also that's coming out this year, by the way. It's coming out in March, this month, I think.
You
Yeah,
kept that one quiet.
Yeah, well, I did a 2-week shoot. It was a little cameo part. I didn't have any lines. Everything was ad-libbed. I have to do this little dance scene. They might not even edit it into the fucking film, right? My character's name was, Italian guy getting married, right? I didn't even have a name, but it was still 2 weeks on a Disney set. I mean, the amount of money, and there was 2 shooting teams and a huge studio out in Surrey somewhere. It was incredible. I couldn't get myself then into a place where I'm prepared to put the same level of work into an audition or a job like that I need to do for the things that actually are what keep you going and ticking over. I wasn't prepared to do it. And my girlfriend's a writer, and she recently stopped writing for a very famous soap because she didn't have the control and the artistic, what's the word I'm looking for? She didn't have artistic control over her writing, only to an extent. And it was like 16-hour days. You're not really allowed to kind of think outside the box. You're very much told what they want you to write. She gave up all of that money, all of that security, to then not be able to write for 2 years because she couldn't get work. Agent just about kept her. She was writing short films for free, or short scripts for free, just to keep herself going, writing her own script in case someone saw her work and gave her a job. Then she found an independent company who are massive fan base on YouTube that only give work to people in local areas, but it was drama, and they're paying her 250 quid for a week's work, but she's only doing that 3 times in a year, so it's not like it's paying for anything. If anything, it pays for some Christmas presents. And it might pay for one, weekend away in Vienna that we went to, right? But then suddenly they're working with Channel 4, and now she's a Channel 4 writer. And then suddenly the BBC sees her work and she's now writing for a really, really successful children's drama for CBBC, and they've just commissioned her for a second episode, and she's getting paid thousands of pounds for each episode. And it's like, fucking hell, man. That is someone who is prepared to do any kind of writing as long as they're doing something they're passionate about.
Yeah.
And
ironically, that's how all the doors open.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that, and I think, my perspective on the work I'm willing to do changed dramatically when I found out I was going to be a dad.
Yeah.
Because then it wasn't about me anymore.
Very good segue, by the way. You managed to come back around.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, with me, my scatterbrain going off in all directions. You're like,
that wasn't even deliberate.
You did good, man. Very good.
But
that dad was the other thing we were going to say. So yeah, sorry.
It
changed hugely
really
when you became a dad.
Because it wasn't about the work that I chose to do. Wasn't about me anymore. It was about how can I maintain this career whilst simultaneously providing what I need to provide for my family. My tactic with my agent now has drastically changed. We've only just started scratching the surface on it, and you know, I'm chomping at the bit to go full speed into it. Until I signed with my current agent, I had one commercial audition, which I never actually went to. Well, I went. What happened was the casting assistant had given my old agent the wrong day, and I ended up going the day after the casting. So I was booked into a commercial casting, but I'd never actually experienced a commercial casting till I signed with this agent.
Yeah.
And now me and my agent are very much commercials, because I'm like, well, look, if I get a commercial, I mean, I just did a commercial that was, I didn't do the commercial, sorry, an audition for the commercial, which was essentially a background role for a day's work for $2,500. Had I been one of the featured, the actual main roles in this commercial, it would have been a day's work for $6,500.
Yeah.
And whilst that money is then gonna last you, that's equally 6 months where I've got in the bag, where if I want to focus then on getting more acting work, I can, if I want to, and it's not necessarily what I would do,
of course,
but I could say to the day job, bye,
yeah.
I'm being an actor full-time for 6 months,
yeah.
not advisable, but equally, I know people that have done 3 days work on a commercial and earned 15k, which is not much less than I actually earn in a year from the day job, and then suddenly you've got a year, or, you know, however long, and you get enough of those, and suddenly the money allows you to sustain the career. If you know how to put in the work to get the work.
And accepting that that is the career that you're going to have, and you're going to enjoy the highs and lows of that career, because you've also made a decision about your family and a choice about where you are in your life, and being able to balance everything.
That's not to say the focus of my career is commercial work.
Of course
However,
not. But it's interesting how you're making the business work for you. You're making the business work for you, rather than kind of just, you know, fingers in all the pies, and kind of then you're all over the place. And you don't have to do it forever like this. Maybe you do a year, 2 years of this focus, so that the money's coming in. Then you start going, okay, I've done that for a couple of years. I've got the freedom to try and, you know, progress in other avenues.
And now I'm in a position where I'll see a casting breakdown that is paid, and I will look at it on the basis that it's paid, rather than looking at it and going, that's corporate work, I'm not really interested in that. I'll just go, let's have a look. And see. And, you know, I work, 250 quid to, you know, pretend I'm being trained in, you know, whatever this corporate video is for a day's work. Why not? You know, that's almost a week's worth of wages from the day job.
350 quid for a few hours.
That I can invest in my career further down the line, and, you know, all that sort of stuff. And as you say, it's making the business work for you. And I think one of the regrets in many ways I have of how I've handled my career to date is actually not looking at it from that. I was too busy being an artist. And too busy saying, you know, I'd love to do that Shakespeare role, or, you know, wanting to do
instead of
fringe
seeing
shows,
it as a job.
But equally not being able to do fringe shows because they don't pay enough. And so I'm kind of not winning in any arena, because I'm not being artistically satisfied, because I can't do the artistic work I want to because it doesn't pay me. But equally, you know, not being willing to do the stuff that is purely for the money, and kind of ending up nowhere. And I kind of look back at, you know, I'm now 8.5 years into my career. And I look back and go, damn, you made some stupid decisions. For somebody that talks so much about business acumen and entrepreneurial spirit and stuff, when you actually look at the bottom line, I'm like, you made some daft fucking decisions. But now I don't have the privilege of being able to say to my family, you're not going to see me now for the next 2 weeks whilst I do this fringe show. And not only are you not going to see me, but I'm not even bringing any money into the bank account.
So indirectly, it's pushed you into this way of seeing the business, or using the business in a certain way. And that's why that's why you can't look back and go, oh, I made some daft decisions, because there are things in life that force us down that road, and then we go, oh, so this is what it means about, using the business in my way. But you wouldn't have thought that if you didn't have a child.
Yeah.
Right. And so this is the thing, is, again, it goes back to, we can talk till the cows come home. The one thing I've learned about the acting industry is you should spend less time trying to do it the way that everyone else has done it, that you think is successful.
Yeah.
Because you'll just end up being in the wrong place at the right time.
Yeah.
And if you just do what you want to do, and you might not be as successful as you wanted to be, but you're still doing it.
Yeah.
You're still doing it, and you won't end up someone like me, where I personally at the moment, I'm too scared to do it anymore. I'm too scared to.
What are you scared of?
I'm too scared of no financial stability. I'm too scared of the lack of time to put into other things. I'm 37 in April. I'm much more conscious of my age, because I do want to have a family, and I am a bit old school with, I want to go on a nice holiday every year with my family, and I want to have kids. And the son that I have, who's now 10, was not with a woman that I was in love with, and she was an older woman, and that had its own problems. And she became pregnant just as I was leaving drama school, and then that affected how I saw my acting career coming out of drama school. There are so many things along the way. It was a terrible decision, lots of terrible decisions, but I can't do anything about them, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Yeah.
And I've read all the books, and I've read all about being present and being in the moment, and not thinking about your past or your future. Enjoy the now and enjoy the journey. Now, unfortunately, the journey took me to some incredible places, and I was very, very close. Yeah. But that was more than some other people that I've worked with, or I got to see some things that some other people didn't. And your life is the one that you make it. And sometimes you make it through your mistakes, and sometimes you make it through your successes. But again, I think the one thing I've realised that you worked out way before me is, what kind of actor will I be happy being, or will I just be happy being an actor? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If you're not going to be happy, if you're only going to be happy being a certain type of successful actor, then if you don't make it in a certain amount of time, you have to give it up.
Yeah.
But if you're just happy being any type of actor at any level, you'll be able to do it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Because it'll never be an issue about what money, finances, time with family. You'll just find a way to make it work.
Yeah, and I had a conversation with an actor once, and they were umming and ahhing about which agent. There were a couple of agents that they were toying with, and ultimately, this line of questioning, I have a little bit of regret, because I actually, in hindsight, signed with the wrong agent, only because that agent was rubbish, not necessarily because the question I posed was wrong, but it was basically a choice of an actor that an agent that specialises in getting people roles in soaps, or an agent that didn't specialise in getting people roles in soaps. And I know this actor well enough to know that they are an artist at heart. And I said, if let's fast forward 70 years. You're in the winter of life, and you look back, and would you rather say, I was in a lot of soaps, earned a lot of money, or would you rather say, I spent the better part of 50 years doing a lot of fringe shows, a lot of small theatre productions, lost a lot of money, but had a damn good time?
Yeah.
Which would you rather have?
There you go.
They ultimately went down the fringe theatre kind of, that was their answer. And I said, well, to me, that's the answer to your question.
Yeah.
Turns out the agent in question was shocking, to say the least. But I equally look at the work that they're doing now, and I think, you're having a fucking whale of a time.
Yeah.
And they're doing fringe
There
productions.
you go.
They're now, I think they're actually not represented at all now. They're self-represented. But they're having a whale of a time. And I'm looking, going, I wish I was doing the work you're doing. Cause
there you go.
Great.
You're having fun. As long as you're having a fun life, enjoying yourself.
Absolutely. And I think as you say, it's the question of, are you happy being a particular type of actor? Or are you happy
Only that being
only
if
just
you only
being
get
an
to
actor,
yeah.
and having the privilege
It is a
of
privilege.
earning your money through doing something that you love, whether that be you know, in corporate work, in voiceover work, in TIE, in whatever. And I think that is the identity crisis that I think I see so many actors, particularly the ones, and I know so many now that have, after 10 or so years, gone, do you know what? I'm done.
Yeah.
And often the conversation that is had is very similar to this one, which is, you know, I didn't love it enough, or I wanted something out of it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I had a goal.
Yeah.
The goal was to be a movie star. It didn't work out for me for various reasons. And if I don't achieve that, or I don't believe that I'm still on the path to maybe getting it, I have to give up, because I'm not prepared to I don't like the word settle, but to settle for something that wasn't my initial goal.
Yes.
It's not settling in the sense that wasn't good enough for me. That's not the case at all.
Yeah.
It's just I had a goal. That was the aim. I spent 15 years, I would say 15 years properly trying to go for it, and it hasn't happened for me. I could spend another 15 years doing it. You know, I might have been really close to it, but I decided that I was going to be 37. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And something that you made me realise about having fun was all of my best work was when I was single. It was when I didn't have a commitment to another person in my life. Yeah. The only way I could function and give that kind of mind to it was when I was on my own.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. I don't consider myself a selfish person. I have had my moments. I'm an artist, get very into myself, right? But actually, I've always worried about the people around me, how I make them feel, have I let them down? Too much so, actually, that many people that have got close to me, friends and relationships and women and family, have taken advantage of me and treated me very badly because I allowed them to. But I got to a point, and you know, I just recently engaged a few days ago. Thank you very much. I love you very much. I can't go down the air. Like, another one bites the dust, as they say. But I did have a choice to make. It was like, either start a family or go off and do your thing. And no matter how hard I tried to be that guy, I was lying to myself. I'm not that guy. I love comfort. I love the easy life. Yeah. I love, you know, barbecues and lunches and friends around at the weekends, and I wanted the nice house with the barbecues. And you might say, but Michael, you can have that and an acting career. But then it goes back to us saying, yeah, you probably could, but it takes a certain kind of person to balance that and also be at the level I wanted to get to as an actor. And then there are people that actually, like we said, will do any acting they want to do. They'll have their family life. They're also happy doing that. They might, you know, they might live off it and make enough money to do that, but you might never know who they were. Yeah. And I suppose I decided that wasn't for me. Yeah. That said, you know, I've got a short film, hopefully, that I'll do this month. That is the second one that I'd already done with some people before.
Amazing.
I'm doing this podcast with you now. Yeah. A friend of mine has written a collection of short stories about his life, and we did a photo shoot today. Amazing. A few other people that we know have all done a photo shoot with the same photographer, and he's going to have one picture to go with each story, and he wanted me to do one of them for him. So I'm just like, I'll work for free and do those things now. Yeah. On my days off. Yeah. But I don't have an agent anymore. They were amazing and said if I ever wanted to go back to them, they'd take me on. Amazing. And actually, you know, I'd like to sort of bring up a topic, which is agents, because that's something I hear actors talking about a lot as well. And we talked about just before we started this, that I think actually I don't see enough actors taking responsibility and understanding that it's their paranoia that's messing with them, and understanding that not all agents were failed actors and that they are just business people. Yeah. And it takes a little bit of your hard work. You can't just expect them to do all the work. You need to be proactive and give them something to sell. But you mustn't be snooty. And a lot of people come out of drama school and they're going up and they go, all I do is go up for adverts. All I do is go up for commercials. Well, what's wrong with that? Yeah. Your work, at least you're going for auditions. Yeah. Then you've got the other actor that says, I haven't been for an audition in months. But I bet you'd go for the commercial auditions now, wouldn't you? Now, that is, as long as you're getting in the room, you're practicing, you're keeping your, you know. I loved my last agent. I thought they were absolutely brilliant. The agent before them was a world-renowned agent, second or third best agent in the UK, and I got bugger all. And it wasn't that they weren't nice people or they didn't like me or believe in me. it was so competitive. It was so up there. You have to build to it.
You have to earn your place, right, in this industry. You can't.
And success breeds success, right?
Absolutely. And as we alluded to earlier, it can't be delivered to you on a silver platter, because the people that it does get delivered to on a silver platter are the first to quit when the going gets tough.
Exactly.
And the people who
it's true, though. It's true.
Work at it and work hard at it, it takes a lot of time.
And it'll put you in good stead, so that if you were to make it at the kind of level that people, I wanted, you will then have earned the right to be there, and people will respect your journey. I had that journey. I have a great story to tell. I believe that, and if someone had asked me, and we're sitting here talking about it now, but you can't just because your agent's not getting you jobs, put all the blame on the agent. Equally, there are some shit agents as well out there. I think as long as you've got a regular contact and you feel people are emailing you and you're going up for stuff, don't worry about the quality of the work. Just be happy that someone is trying to sell you and get you in. An
agent can only get you in the door that you're ready to walk through.
And even if they're not the doors that you think are going to get you where you need to go, someone's still seeing you, and there is a positive thing to getting into an audition style environment. Because it's like they talk about footballers practicing penalties. It doesn't matter how much you practice penalties. Once you've got a crowd and you've got that risk cameras in your face and flashing, it doesn't matter how good you were in training. And the only way an actor can recreate that is by going through even self-tape. So you can't get the kind of feeling it is to walk into a room, see a stranger, have those few minutes to make a difference, and when they say action, to do exactly how you rehearsed it in your room. So embrace it, use it. Enjoy those auditions that you're getting once or twice a week just for commercials. And if you are only getting one theatre audition a month or one movie audition a month, listen, that's kind of how it is, man. That's kind of how it is. There's a lot of people out there. There's a lot of different parts, and don't expect to be going up for big TV and movie roles every week. Even every month. It's just it's not realistic.
No,
it's not realistic.
Not even close. But I think that's the naivety that a lot of drama schools drum into people. We should probably wrap this up in a moment.
Okay, no, we should. Yeah, sorry, we were talking.
I just kind of wanted to ask, just before we do. Obviously, you've talked about the acting being on the back burner a little. We've talked about, kind of in many ways, you're kind of treating acting as a hobby now at this point, from the sounds of things. And you've said you're kind of scared to pursue it again.
At the level that I feel I would need to for my own desires to be met.
Basically. What is your feeling about?
What does the future hold, kind of thing?
Yeah, about what whether or not you do want to jump back in once life has settled down and.
I think it's too early to say, because the new job I've been at has only been 6 months, but I'm earning a much better living, and I have it's the most stable I've been financially in my entire life. Right. I was brought up thinking that things would be set up for me. I have no shame in saying that, because my parents worked very hard to go from being very, very poor to being very, very well off, and being able to leave this world with their children having a property each that they didn't have to buy themselves. But as a result of my mum's death, and subsequently what happened with my stepfather, that was taken away from us immediately, from the moment we woke up the next day. And when your expectations have been on that, you're not as focused on building something for yourself. So I've essentially had to start again from scratch, where some of my friends, they didn't have that luxury, and so they've always been thinking, I want to have my house by the time I'm in my late 20s or early 30s, and I never thought I'd have to plan for that. So now, in the last 5 years, I've had to get the ball rolling again for myself and my family. I'm now in a position where I'll be able to save enough money to, with a deposit, with another person in my life, like my fiance, together we can have a deposit for a home. And I would like to then maybe for her to fall pregnant next year, to have a family. And let's see where I am by the time I'm 40, 42. And then the way life has pushed you having a baby into a different way of seeing how you want to use the industry now. I think that's what will happen to me. And then I'll be a different type of actor. I'll be an actor in his 40s and going into his 40s and 50s. The roles will change. My look will change.
There'll be less competition.
There might be less competition. There might be more competition. I might be using the industry in a different way. I might settle for just earning a bit of extra money on the side as an actor, as opposed to it wanting to be my own one and only career. So I think I'm just going to enjoy not having... I've only known pressure of an actor's life. That's all I've ever known up until 37. I'm going to enjoy just being a normal person.
A
muggle, yeah, exactly. Earning a living, having a normal, what we say normal, inverted commas, normal life. And I know that eventually I'll be secure enough that the desire will come back, and then I'll start writing to agents, or we'll see what happens. But my message to other actors out there is, don't give up, keep fucking doing it, do it your way, and be prepared that even if you don't end up having the career you thought you wanted to have, as long as you're still acting, trust me, there's still a huge thing in the pit of my stomach that wakes up every day and goes, fuck, I'm not an actor anymore. It still hurts, and that will never leave me. I'm just learning to live with it. But I'm also a realist, and I know that I was also very unhappy living as the actor that I was as well. So, one set of problems for another, but I've definitely got a bit more peace, and maybe in the years to come, I'll decide to be a different type of actor than I initially set out to be 15 years ago.
Dude.
That was awesome, man. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
I really needed that. Can we have another session?
Let's do another one.
Can I start paying you? You can make a living. You can do self-help sessions.
Therapeutic.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, cheers, bro. I wanted to get you on because of what I think is quite a unique perspective. Having seen both, let's say, the top and the bottom, and finding yourself unexpectedly, I think, on the bottom, and choosing, with all of the pressures that you have felt, not just from your pedigree, shall we say, but also from your peers and who I know that within the industry and all of that pressure. I thought it's a very unique perspective, and I think
thank you.
Sobering perspective, I think, for a lot of people, because despite who your mom is, and despite who your friends are and the opportunities that have been presented to you, the fact that your struggles are my struggles, exactly. And they are exactly the same. Exactly. I just think it was very important to kind of get your kind of perspective on it. So
might I just add, though, that I'm now working as a butler at the Savoy, which is about as theatrical as it can get in the real world. I put on my costume every day and I perform as this butler. I haven't got a fucking clue what I'm talking about, but they all seem to think I am. So it's probably the best performance I've ever given in my life. So come on down if you want to see it. We're open Monday to Sunday, 24 hours.
I need to check it out myself.
Come on down. We'll definitely take you for a drink in the American bar, mate. That's for sure.
Definitely. Awesome. Right. Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, mate.
So there we are. What a great interview. I'm so so glad that Michael shared that with everyone, and to you guys as well listening. Michael, if you are listening, thank you again for coming on. And yes, we definitely need to grab that drink soon. I hope, to those of you listening, that you found a lot of value in that. There was a lot of honesty, and a lot of brutal, tough love, I think, in there, but in a wonderful way. Michael is a great guy, and I'm just very grateful that he took the time to talk so frankly as he did. If you have enjoyed the podcast, please do share it. Please. I really want to get this stuff in front of as many people as possible, because I think people could do with some of this stuff. And if not, head to your podcaster of choice and just leave a review. Your feedback is really, really valuable, and it also helps get the show in front of other people as well. So you'd be doing me the greatest honour if you could either share or leave a review. I'd be most grateful. Next episode, which is in a couple of weeks' time, we'll be sitting down with actress Rachel Lynn. this is actually the second recording of the interview that we did, because the first one disappeared. I had a technical glitch, and it just disappeared. So, but that will be in a couple of weeks' time. It's a really interesting chat. Really, really lovely woman, and also quite frank and honest, which I like. She's a real go-getter and really ambitious, and shares many ambitions that I do as well. So it'll be a really good chat. So that's in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, thanks very much for listening, and I'll see you next time.